we're going to look at solving, that says quadratic problems, using, that's the discriminant. So they've asked us, well, we've written this out, I should have wrote the rest of the question, but what value of k does the equation have no zeros? So what values of k does, and how do they word it?
Does the function have no zeros?
The function should have no zeros. Okay. In order to tell if something has zeros or not, we tend to use this. We use b squared minus 4 times a times c. And this is known as the discriminant, as we said over here. And the discriminant, what it says is, if this is equal to 0, then there is one root or x-intercept. So one, we'll call it 1, 0. It's a little confusing. If it's equal to 0, there's 1, 0. If it is greater than 0, then there are 2 zeros. That's an S. Maybe I should be writing this red so we have rules. Equal to 0, then 1, 0. If it is greater than 0, then we have 2 zeros. And if it is less than 0, then we have 0 zeros. Okay? And just so you have an idea of what that looks like, 2 zeros would be, anything like this, where it crosses up and down. So the vertex is below and heading upwards, or it's above and heading downwards. 1, 0 would be anything like this, where the vertex is on the x-intercept heading upwards, or it's on the x-intercept heading downwards. That's 1, 0. And 0 zeros is this relationship where the vertex is above and it heads up, or the vertex is below and heads downwards. Okay, so those don't cross the x-intercept. So we need, let's go way back up here. We're talking about discriminant, we're talking about it in standard form. So that means we're talking about with a x squared plus bx plus c. Okay, and that's our a, b, and c there. We're going to plug our values in from this standard form into the discriminant, and we know we have to be less than 0. So this is technically an inequality, which is usually university math. But it's okay, we can go through that idea. It's not something foreign to us. Let's plug them in. We know that the a and the c are both k values. So a and c, they're both k. And our b is -8. So I'm going to scroll down just a little here. Remember, we had b squared minus 4ac. We knew that b was equal to -8 from above. A equaled k, and c equaled to k. Okay, so -8 is b, so we have -8. That would be squared. And again, remember, this needs to be less than 0. That's really important to us. Minus 4 times, and we'll write the k. A was k. Oh shoot, I usually do a in red. Let's do that. So we're color coded here. K, and c was k. And even though I wrote them in different different colors, they're still the exact same letter. Okay. So -8 squared is 64 minus 4. K times k is k squared. 4k squared less than 0. Okay. This less than sign, think of it like an equal sign, and really you're still balancing equations. So the goal here is to isolate for our k value. Okay. So I can move 64 to the other side of the equation. And when we move 64 to the other side of the equation, what do you think it will become?
A negative.
That's right. So we get 4k squared is less than 0 subtract 64, and we can simplify that. I'm going to try to write out each step. So this becomes -64 minus 4k squared. Now, again, not usually taught in 11 mix. But we need to isolate this k, so we have to divide by our -4. When we divide or multiply by a negative with an inequality, we actually have to flip this sign. So we're going to divide both sides by -4, or known as usually bringing -4 to the other side. When we do that negative, this has to flip. So now this has to go like that. We change direction. So it used to say less than, now it's going to say greater than. So now these cancel out or create a 1, so we have k squared. And -64 divide -4, that goes in 1, how many times does that go? 1/6. I think so. So we get 16. Yeah, that sounds about right. And we still have to isolate for k, and we have a square root. So in order to move square root to the other side, we square root both sides, right? We're going to square root both sides of an inequality. And this gets really tricky. We're going to end up with a whole bunch of answers, okay? And we're going to end up with two sets of answers. So what happens when you square root something, you get a positive and a negative answer, right? Because when those two values multiply together, they'll give you a positive. For instance, if you have positive 2 by, sorry, these are negatives. Negative 2 by negative 2, you get positive 4. And then positive 2 by positive 2, you get 4, okay? So the same thing's going to happen here. We're going to get, and you usually don't write this for a variable, we're going to plus or minus k, okay, is greater than plus or minus 4, okay? And that is a whole ton of options. So what that means here, and we're going to lay out all our options on the right here. There's going to be two major sets, okay? Here's our one idea, is that we get positive k is greater than 4, and negative k is greater than 4, okay? So that's where we used a positive and negative k for just the positives. And then we get positive k is greater than negative 4, and positive k negative k is greater than negative 4. So what we've done here, excuse me, we used positive 4s, and we did a plus k and a minus k, okay? And then we did negative 4s, and we did a plus k and a minus k. So we've set out 4 options here, okay? And essentially keep it like this. This is going to be a group is going to be our positive 4s, and another group is going to be our negative 4s. We're going to have to test to see which ones are true. I'll do the first set in red, and then I'll do the second set in blue. So our answers here are k is greater than 4, and then here I have a negative k. So to divide by a negative, the sign flips, just like we said before. So then we would get k is less than, and 4 divided by negative 1 is negative 4. So that's one set of answers, okay? And another set of answers, we'll do in green here, is k is greater than negative 4. And then again, we divide by negative, k is less than positive 4. So another set of answers. So we kind of have to see what these mean. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a number line. Good old elementary school. Okay? And the reason I've drawn this number line is because our important values are at, put it in blue, negative 4 and positive 4. And we're going to talk about what the red one talks about. The red ones talk about being greater than 4 and less than negative 4. So the red values are when k is out here and k is out here. Okay? The green values are talking about k being greater than negative 4 but less than 4. Well, that's where the k values exist. I made a funny little bracket there. In here. Okay? So we're either using the red pairing or the green pairing. So algebraically, we can test this. And what we're going to do is we're going to just choose a number from both. In here, I can choose 0 for k. And out here, we can use positive or negative 5. Either of those will give us our true answer. So what we're going to do is we're going to go back into our discriminant, okay, and we're going to test them in the discriminant to see which pairing is the true answer. So let's bring down our pairing. We have b squared minus 4ac. Now we were talking about k, and k was representing both a and c, right? So in this version, and we both remember we needed to be less than 0 in order to get no 0. So we've written all that out. Our b was negative 8, so we have negative 8 squared minus, k represented a and c, so that's 4 times, I'm going to use the green one to start, 0 and 0. And it needs to be less than 0. So we get 64 minus, and what's 0 times 0?
0.
Times 4?
0.
So we get 64 is less than 0. Is that true? Is
No.
64 less than 0? No, it's not true, which means this is not our k. This can't be our k because this is not true. Let's say it's not equal. It is not equal, but it's not true. I'm going to write underneath. Okay, so not true. So let's test our other one. We know it's negative 8 squared minus, let's use positive 5. and it was positive 5 times positive 5, and we knew it had to be less than 0. This becomes 64. 5 times 5 is 25, times negative 4 is minus 100, less than 0. And that's going to give us negative 36. Is negative 36 less than 0?
Yeah.
Yes, so this is true. Okay, that's important. So that means the pairing is this red pairing here. These are our answers, that red pairing. So when k is greater than 4 and when k is less than negative 4, those are our answers. And we'll quickly show you using our graph, right? When we're above 4, so we'll go down to 4. When it's above it, it has 0 zeros, no zeros. And then in between, it's got 2, blah, 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 all the way to negative 4. And then after negative 4, it has no zeros again. Okay? So that's our way of telling.